Welcome back to the deep dive. So today we are looking at this massive stack of data, marketing research, and automotive industry analytics.
Yeah, it's a lot of data to get through.
Right. And we're trying to figure out why your local car dealership is honestly likely wasting millions of dollars.
Which is wild when you actually look at the numbers.
Totally wild. So our mission today
Right.
is to unpack the psychological trap of vanity marketing, analyze how consumer attention has just fundamentally shifted, and discover what actually drives a modern buyer to take action.
Right, because the whole landscape is different now.
Exactly. And to understand this, I want you to picture a scenario. Let's say it's 1998. You are sitting in bumper-to-bumper morning traffic.
Classic commute.
Yep, coffee in one hand, steering wheel in the other, and the radio is dialed into the biggest local morning show in town. You are a truly captive audience.
You really had no other choice back then.
Exactly. And right after the traffic report, this booming voice comes on, yelling about a massive weekend blowout sale at the local car dealership. Jingles are playing, the slogan is catchy, and whether you like it or not, that dealership is now permanently lodged in your brain.
Yeah, and see, that was the ultimate playbook for local business back then. I mean, it was a guaranteed way to capture an entire market.
It really was.
A dealership could just hammer the exact same offer over and over again until everyone within a, 20-mile radius knew the name, the voice, the slogan, all the details of that weekend sale.
Because the attention was genuinely there.
Right. It worked because people were actually listening.
But the reality today is that the media landscape has completely transformed. Like the way you and I shop for cars has fundamentally changed.
Completely changed. The market evolved, the customer evolved, but
But the strategy didn't.
exactly. Looking at the data we are exploring today, it reveals this fascinating disconnect. A massive number of dealerships are still spending huge portions of their marketing budgets as if it is still 1998.
They are quite literally still paying to yell at people in traffic.
It's pure habit. The local dealership radio strategy largely froze in time. They just keep buying spots out of habit.
Even though the showroom isn't moving.
Right. The showroom isn't seeing an influx of foot traffic. The sales aren't tracking back to the ads, but the checks are still being written month after month.
So I want to start by trying to understand the motivation behind those checks. Like, if the data shows it's not directly selling cars, there has to be a psychological reason a business owner keeps doing it.
Well, research points to a concept that explains this perfectly. It's called vanity marketing.
Vanity marketing. Okay, unpack that for us.
Sure. Radio, much like a giant highway billboard, gives a business owner a very specific emotional high. It makes the dealership feel incredibly visible.
Oh, I see. Because they can literally hear it themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The general manager hears the commercial on the commute to work and feels like the store is highly active. The owner's friends mention they heard the ad at a dinner party. Competitors hear it.
And the station rep provides a report showing massive reach, right?
Oh, absolutely. And it creates this illusion that the store is everywhere. You can physically hear your own marketing, so it feels tangible.
But that tangible feeling is sort of the trap, isn't it?
That is the exact trap. If you are the one signing the marketing checks, hearing your own commercial validates the expense in your own mind, everyone inside the walls of the dealership feels important.
But marketing shouldn't be judged by how it makes the business feel.
Right. It must be judged by what it makes the customer do.
I do want to push back on that idea just a little bit, though, because isn't feeling visible a somewhat valid strategy?
How do you mean?
Well, think about a peacock strutting around with its feathers fully fanned out. It's not doing anything productive in that exact moment, but it's showing dominance.
Okay, I see where you're going.
It's telling everyone else in the jungle, like, look how big I am. Doesn't a local business need to project that kind of dominance in a competitive market?
So the peacock analogy is great, but it highlights the exact flaw in modern business strategy. A peacock might feel fantastic about his feathers, but if those feathers don't actually attract a mate, it is a complete waste of caloric energy.
Ah, right. All show, no result.
Exactly. If the only concrete proof that a radio campaign is working is that the people who already work at the dealership heard it, that isn't proof of market dominance. That is purely vanity.
Because there's a profound difference between being broadcast and actually triggering a response.
A massive difference.
Which brings us directly to the customer's reality today. The whole 1998 playbook relied on captive attention. But think about what you, the listener, are actually doing in your car right now.
You're definitely not just sitting there enduring commercial breaks.
Right. You aren't doing that because you have endless choices. You're streaming Spotify or Apple Music. you're listening to audiobooks.
Or you've got satellite radio on, or you're catching up on podcasts.
Yeah. And even when traditional local radio is turned on, the cognitive environment is entirely different.
Completely different. Drivers are checking digital navigation, talking on hands-free calls, or simply, mentally tuning out the second a loud commercial break begins.
It's like the human brain has adapted to filter out intrusive noise.
It really has. Dealerships are paying top dollar for the broadcast, operating under the dangerous assumption that a broadcast automatically equals meaningful attention.
But let's assume for a moment they do manage to get a fraction of your attention. Like, what are you actually hearing?
Well, the analysis of standard dealership commercials is pretty revealing. There is this absolute wash of sameness.
Oh, totally. You know exactly what it sounds like.
Right. It is the loud, booming voice, the entirely artificial urgency claiming this weekend only.
The promises of huge savings, the desperate, we need your trade line.
And then the dealership name repeated 3 times in a row at the end.
It becomes generic background noise.
Exactly. Every dealer in town is saying the exact same thing every single month for every holiday weekend.
And they're using a medium where you cannot rely on visuals. Like, your words have to do 100% of the heavy lifting.
And they are wasting that opportunity on claims that absolutely nobody believes anymore.
It's like being in a crowded room where every single person is screaming at the top of their lungs that they have the best secret in the world.
That's a great way to picture it.
When everyone is screaming the same thing, it just turns into white noise. You don't hear the secret. You just want to leave the room.
Right. And then there is a specific fatal flaw in these generic ads that the data highlights. The disclaimer blender.
Oh man, the disclaimer blender. This is arguably one of the most self-destructive things a brand can put on the air.
It really is.
For those who might not know the term, it's when an ad promises an incredibly low monthly payment to get you interested, and then the last 15 seconds of the commercial sound like an auctioneer reading a legal textbook through a blender.
With approved credit, plus tax, title, license, dealer fees, extra.
Specific stock number, down payment required, negative equity may affect payment. Just so fast.
And let's pause on a term like negative equity for a moment, meaning you owe more on your current loan than the car is actually worth. That is a complex financial situation.
It's hugely complex.
But instead of explaining it, it's just speed read alongside 10 other conditions.
I am curious about the psychology behind that. Because as a listener, the second I hear that fast-talking legal speak, my defenses go right up. I instantly think I'm being tricked. What is actually happening in the brain there?
Well, when the brain hears a synthetically sped-up human voice, especially following a large promise, the amygdala—
Wait, the amygdala, the threat center.
Yes, the part of the brain responsible for processing threats. It actually triggers a low-level defensive response. Humans naturally associate fast-talking with deception or being conned.
Wow. So instead of hearing low payments, your brain literally goes into a defensive posture.
Exactly. Radio is uniquely terrible for complex financial offers because the listener cannot visually inspect the terms at their own pace.
Like on a phone screen, you can read the fine print, check the term length, and verify the down payment.
Right. On the radio, if it sounds too good to be true and then ends with hyperspeed legal jargon, trust is destroyed instantly.
So if these ads are destroying trust and creating white noise, it makes you wonder who actually writes them.
Looking at the marketing analysis, it seems they suffer from what we can call self-centered marketing.
Self-centered marketing. Notice how most of these radio spots begin. They start entirely with the dealership's problems or the dealership's ego.
We have too much inventory.
We are overstocked.
We are celebrating our 25th anniversary.
That is a classic symptom of a business entirely disconnected from its consumer base.
Completely. The customer does not care about the store's anniversary. They care about their own life.
They care that their monthly payment is suffocating their budget.
Or they care that their lease is ending in 2 months and they don't know what their options are.
Or they care that they just got hit with a massive repair bill and they are wondering if it makes more financial sense to just trade the car in.
Or maybe they just had a third child and their current compact SUV is suddenly way too small.
Those are very real, very human problems. A good advertisement in any medium should act as a mirror reflecting the customer's problem, not a megaphone for the business's ego.
Exactly. Because these ads are so dealer-centric, they fail to capture any real intent from the buyer.
And to understand the impact of failing to capture intent, we have to look at the sharp contrast between traditional radio and modern digital advertising.
Right, because digital is immediate. You see a targeted ad on a search engine about lowering high interest rates. You click it, you answer a few questions on a landing page.
Intent is immediately captured and quantified
Yes. Radio, on the other hand, is a blunt instrument of memory.
because it asks the listener to do an incredible amount of cognitive work. Like you have to hear the ad while driving in traffic, somewhere between a weather update and a commercial for a mattress store.
You have to actively care about the generic message. You have to memorize the dealership's name or a custom URL.
And then you have to remember to take action hours later when you finally arrive at your destination. That's asking so much.
And let's follow that thread to its conclusion. Let's say, by some miracle, the radio ad works. Someone remembers the name, they look up the phone number, and they call the dealership.
Okay, yeah.
How does that handoff actually play out for the sales professional who picks up the phone?
It has to be incredibly weak. The customer probably says something vague like, yeah, I heard something on the radio about a huge sale.
That is all the context the salesperson receives. They are starting from absolute zero.
They don't know what the customer currently drives, what their specific financial problem is, or which of the 5 offers in the ad actually caught their attention.
Compare that to a digital lead. A lead comes in through a targeted campaign, and the salesperson's screen provides immediate, actionable context.
Like, customer clicked the rate relief event ad. They currently drive a 2019 sedan, they want to lower their monthly payment, and they have indicated they want to trade.
Exactly. That salesperson is armed with context. They can have a meaningful, solution-oriented conversation instantly.
Relying on radio just leaves the sales team flying blind.
It really does.
You know, I am struggling to understand the vendor side of this equation.
How so?
Well, if I am an advertising agency and I cannot prove my radio spots sold a single car or provided any actionable context for the sales team, I would expect to be fired. What magical metric are they using to justify the expense and keep the dealership writing checks?
They rely on the ultimate, unassailable defense mechanism in marketing. Brand awareness.
Brand awareness, of course.
If a campaign fails to generate trackable leads, the agency will simply claim it is building long-term awareness in the market.
Wait, I have to challenge the idea that awareness is a bad thing, though. Doesn't a local business inherently want people to know their name? If they know your name, they are more likely to come to you when they are finally ready to buy, right?
So we have to draw a hard line between weak awareness and strong awareness. Awareness of just existing is incredibly weak.
Because knowing that a dealership exists, that they sell cars, and that they claim to have deals, that describes literally every single dealership in the country.
Exactly. Weak awareness does not drive action. Strong awareness creates a specific memory attached to a specific solution.
So strong awareness would be someone thinking, oh, that's the dealership that specifically helps people navigate out of restrictive leases.
Or, that's the store that actually explains trade equity clearly and transparently.
Precisely that. If your advertising doesn't make your business known for something highly specific and helpful, then you are paying premium prices for weak awareness.
And when a vendor tells you a campaign is building awareness because they cannot show you any tracked leads or sold units, they are often using that phrase to mask failure.
If dealers are using the excuse of brand awareness just to hide a lack of leads, you see that exact same logic playing out in the physical world too. Research points out the theater of radio remotes.
Oh, the radio remote.
You know these events. You pull up to the dealership on a Saturday, and there's a giant radio station van parked on the front grass. They've got a pop-up tent, they're blasting music, there's a radio host on a microphone giving away free pizza, and there's always a giant prize wheel.
It feels like a massive party.
It is pure theater. It creates local noise, it creates event energy, and it makes the dealership owner feel like the showroom is buzzing with activity.
But if we analyze the actual foot traffic, the underlying motivation is entirely disconnected from purchasing a vehicle.
People are there for the free pizza and the chance to spin the prize wheel.
They are fans of the radio station showing up for a giveaway, not qualified buyers looking for a $40,000 vehicle.
Right. It distracts the sales team, it costs a significant amount of money to host, and it rarely translates into measurable sold units.
It is essentially a party for the radio station, and the local business is footing the entire bill.
Which is just crazy. And this logic leads us directly into what the data reveals as the most destructive element of this entire strategy: opportunity cost.
Yeah, opportunity cost is the true killer of a business's growth.
We are talking about massive amounts of money being spent here. Let's break down the actual math on this.
Okay. If a dealership spends, say, $20,000 a month on a generic radio campaign, the question shouldn't just be, Did this generate some awareness?
The much more important, mathematically rigorous question is, what could that exact same $20,000 have done if deployed into modern intent-driven channels?
Right. Let's run a hypothetical scenario based on the data. Let's say you take that $20,000 away from radio. What does that actually buy you in the digital space?
Well, $20,000 in targeted digital search campaigns could buy you thousands of clicks from people who are literally typing "car lease ending soon near me" into their phones at this exact moment.
If even 10% of those clicks convert into a lead, you have hundreds of highly qualified, intent-driven people in your system.
Furthermore, that money could fund advanced training for a BDC.
And a BDC is a business development center, essentially the dedicated team whose entire job is to handle internet leads, answer questions quickly, and book appointments. Right.
Yes, exactly. Investing in training your BDC to handle those digital leads properly, or investing in targeted social media campaigns aimed specifically at people whose auto loans are maturing in the next 90 days, yields trackable results.
Those are investments that capture real intent, qualify buyers, and most importantly, can be tracked directly to a sold vehicle.
That is the standard radio must be held to. It has to earn its place against channels that can mathematically prove their worth.
Okay, so after all of this analysis, after tearing down the vanity trap, the generic noise, the psychological rejection of the disclaimer blender, and the massive opportunity costs, it would be easy to conclude that radio is entirely dead.
Like it should never be used.
Right. But the data actually argues something different.
It does. It suggests radio can still work, but only if it is completely reinvented. What does an effective modern radio strategy actually look like?
The first step is a radical shift in tone. A business must stop screaming at the listener.
Stop listing every single model on the lot.
And they must eliminate the artificial urgency. The best radio advertisement shouldn't even sound like a commercial.
It should be calm, empathetic, and highly specific to a single problem.
The research highlights a great blueprint for this. Instead of the usual yelling, imagine a calm conversational voice saying, "Is your car payment starting to feel too high? You may not be stuck." At ABC Motors, we are helping local drivers review their current loan and trade value to see if there is a smarter way forward. Visit abcmotors.com payment.
That is an entirely different cognitive experience for the listener.
It works because it adheres to strict conditions for a successful media buy. First, it focuses on one idea for one specific audience.
It isn't offering 5 different deals for everyone, right? It addresses one problem, like high payments.
Second, it utilizes a simple digital capture path. The URL in that example, /payment, is easy to remember and gives the listener a clear, trackable next step.
And the tracking is the key. If 100 people go to that specific URL, the dealership knows unequivocally that the radio ad drove them there. It removes the mystery.
And the third condition is perhaps the most vital. Radio must be viewed as a support channel, not the primary engine of lead generation.
It's like serving an appetizer.
Exactly.
Radio is amazing at introducing a flavor, putting a specific idea or solution into the customer's mind. But if there is no main course, meaning if there isn't a digital ecosystem built to capture that interest, then the customer just leaves hungry.
You paid for the introduction, but you didn't build the system to finish the conversation. The ecosystem is everything. Let's look at how that ecosystem actually functions.
Yeah, walk us through it.
Radio creates market-level repetition of a single, powerful idea. Then, when the customer goes to a search engine or scrolls social media later that day, they see a digital ad reinforcing that exact same idea.
They click that ad, their information is captured, and they're funneled into the dealership's CRM.
And a CRM is the customer relationship management system, the software the sales team uses to track every interaction with a buyer.
Exactly. The radio plants the seed, the digital retargeting captures the intent, and the CRM manages the relationship.
That is how traditional media and digital media are supposed to work together in harmony.
If you are ever in charge of a marketing budget, or just trying to understand how businesses compete for your attention, this is the ultimate cautionary tale. Radio is absolutely no longer a standalone lead generation machine.
If a business treats it like one, they are simply funding expensive background noise.
It is an awareness tool.
Yeah.
But to be an effective awareness tool, it requires a sharp focus on a real buyer problem, one single, clear message, and strict digital tracking to prove its worth.
Without those elements in place, a business is just paying to interrupt people's commute.
As we wrap up this analysis, we want to leave you with a final thought, an exercise to test out in your own life based on what we've discussed today.
The next time you are driving or listening to a podcast and a commercial break begins, pay close attention to your own brain.
Notice the exact millisecond you mentally tune out. Feel that defensive armor go up against the generic noise and the fast-talking disclaimers.
And then ask yourself, what specific words, what exact tone of voice would a brand actually have to use to pierce through your mental armor and force you to truly pay attention?
Once you start noticing your own tune-out reflex, you will never look at advertising the exact same way again. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We loved unpacking this data with you, and we warmly invite you back for our next exploration. Until then, keep questioning the noise.